Good morning, everybody. My name is Renee McKibben. I'm the Acting Dean of the College of Asia and the Pacific. And on behalf of the Crawford School of Public Policy, the College of Asia and Pacific and the Australian National University, I would like to welcome you to the third annual Japan Update. Thank you. I would especially like to welcome Mr. Arai Shogo, Governor of Nara, and to Ambassador Murray McLean. The Dean, Veronica Taylor, very much wished to be here, but currently has other obligations in Europe. The Japan Update is ANU's flagship event on Japan and is organised by the Australian Japan Research Centre, housed here in the Crawford School, and the Japan Institute, which is the university's umbrella institution which brings together all Japan specialists. The College of Asia and the Pacific is the proud home of the largest collection of Asia specialists in the English-speaking world, and the expertise on Japan over the decades has been an important pillar of that. We have over 40 researchers who are specialists on Japan or conduct research on Japan, and over 27 PhD students undertaking dissertations on Japan. The ANU has a proud tradition of engagement with Japan. Sir John Crawford, after whom this school is named, helped broker the 1957 Commerce Agreement between Australia and Japan, which saw Australia grant Japan Most Favoured Nation status and laid the foundation for the resource trade that would help fuel Japan's recovery and spectacular development. John Crawford was once again instrumental, this time with Professor Peter Drysdale, who is here today, in achieving the 1976 Basic Treaty between Australia and Japan, otherwise known as the Nara Treaty, that celebrates its 40th anniversary next year. That agreement helped open up migration flows and welcome Japanese investment. We are also very proud of our world-class Japanese studies program for helping students understand Japan, the language, its culture, and people. This year, our Dean, Veronica Taylor, was awarded the Foreign Minister's Award for her contribution to Japan studies, and I'd like to extend our warm congratulations to her on this special award. We are also delighted to have another Foreign Minister's Award recipient in the audience today, Mrs. Yukari Armstrong. Yukari was instrumental in initiating and realising the sister city arrangement between Canberra and Nara cities. It is wonderful that she can join us today to welcome the Governor of Nara Prefecture, Mr. Shogo Arai. There are others like Shun Ikeda, who are integral to the vibrant Japan community of students and scholars on campus, and Carol Hayes, who is innovating in Japanese language education. There are many more stories of ANU's engagement with Japan, and the research on Japan done at the ANU is recognised globally by peers and specialists. It is upon that foundation that the college, led by the Australia-Japan Research Centre and the Japan Institute, are able to bring together such an impressive group each year to discuss, debate and make digestible the most recent thinking on trends and debates in Japan. Along with Peter Drysdale and Veronica Taylor, our Pro-Vice-Chancellor Research and Research Training, Jenny Corbett, is a Japan specialist, and we have world-class researchers such as Tessa Morris-Suzuki. That leadership has also ensured the future is bright. We have a collection of rising stars who work on Japan, in Shiro Armstrong, who co-directs the AJRC, the Australia-Japan Research Centre, and Simon Avenel, who is Director of the Japan Institute. Shiro and Simon are the two organisers of the update. We also have the economic historian, Zhong Tang, the security specialist, Amy King, political scientist, David Enville, and a number of others. One of our most college's visible outputs is the East Asian Forum, and the latest hard copy issue on Japan-China relations was edited by Shiro Armstrong and Amy King, and it's being launched here today. It looks like this, so please grab a copy on your way out. Finally, it's not just people but creative initiatives that have been put in place. This year, through Peter Drysdale's efforts, the Crawford School has launched a parliamentary fellowship program where 2 graduates selected from around Australia will spend 3 months from next February in the Diet, the Japanese Parliament, working to a parliamentarian. 2 Japanese graduates will also spend time in the Australian Parliament. That national program has existed with the United States Foreign Relations Committee for the last 7 years, and the Crawford School is also launching a similar program with India next February. With just some of the history, expertise and new initiatives mentioned here, you'll understand that there is a lot going on, and the update each year builds on all of that with our friends and colleagues who make the trip out to share their expertise every year. We are grateful for their participation and for the audience who has taken time to be part of that conversation. We We're also very, very grateful for our sponsors, the Australian-Japan Foundation and the Japan Foundation hospitality of the Embassy of Japan, without whom this would not be possible. So just before we start, a couple of housekeeping points that I've been asked to share with you. The most important are that the Wi-Fi details can be found in the program booklet for today and is on the screen above me, and the Twitter hashtag for the update is #JapanUpdate. Finally, each session has been designed to allow for a lot of questions and answers and discussion time, so I encourage you all to participate, and I wish you well in your meeting.
Good morning, I'm Murray McLean. I'm here in my guise as the chair of the Australia-Japan Foundation, and as I think most of you would be aware, the Australia-Japan Foundation exists as a government-funded body to apply grants to non-government activity in order to increase the understanding between Australia and Japan, and these grants are highly competitive, but this Japan update is obviously right at the top of the scale of the activities that we are very pleased to be able to support, because it does bring to a quite large audience a very broad set of issues relating to Japan. And of course we're delighted also that the ANU has invited such eminent people as the keynote speaker today, Governor Shogo Arai, the Governor of Nara Prefecture. I first met Governor Arai during the course of my period as ambassador in Japan from 2004 to 2011. It was something like, I think, 2009, when Australia and Japan had already begun the negotiation of an EPA. That had actually been the first task that I was given in late 2004, and it was a pretty arduous task to bring the Japanese authorities to a point where they would even begin to consider a feasibility study, let alone a negotiation. And as part of the exercise of, dare I say it, softening up Japan, I visited every prefecture, literally every prefecture, 47 of them, visiting particularly and concentrating particularly on the agricultural areas where they had been fed very negative propaganda about the supposed damage that an EPA would do to their livelihoods by the Japan Agricultural Cooperatives and the Ministry of Agriculture of the day. But when I went to Nara, I called on the governor, as it was my wont, and when I went to each of the prefectures, I called on the governor, the head of JA, and then visited various farms around the place. I was delighted that Governor Arai was probably, without any question, the most positive in terms of the EPA between Australia and Japan of any of the people that I met in this journey around Japan. And I think that reflects not only his own broad liberal understanding of the importance of trade liberalisation, but also his international experience. Professor, at least Governor Arai, has been elected no less than 3 times as Governor of Nara since May 2007. He's obviously a very popular figure in Nara. He was formerly, however, a national level politician and a parliamentary vice minister for foreign affairs, a chairman of the Committee on Education, Culture and Science in the House of Councillors, and before he entered politics was Commandant of the Japan Coast Guard. And he was the first Japanese Commandant of the Coast Guard to visit China and meet his counterpart. And back in those days, in the year 2000, he told me last night that was an extremely cordial meeting. So it's a pity Governor Arai isn't having those connections with China today on the Japan side. But it just goes to show that he has a huge range of experience. Before all of that, he was Director General of the Road Transport Bureau in the Ministry of Transportation, Deputy Director General of the Railway Bureau of the Ministry of Transportation, and also Director General of the Tourism Department of the Ministry of Transportation. So that's an extraordinarily broad set of experiences which I think fit him very well to be our guest speaker this evening, or this afternoon, or this morning, beg your pardon. I'm getting ahead of myself. And that's all based on his having graduated from Tokyo University and then subsequently doing an MBA, or public administration I should say, Masters at Syracuse University in the United States. So join me please in welcoming Governor Arai to the stage so that he can give us his I'm sure, very interesting address indeed on Japan's regional challenges. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for kind introduction. So, Your Excellencies, honorable participants, ladies and gentlemen, I'm greatly honored and humbled to be lecturing here today. First of all, I'd like to offer my thanks to Dr. Peter Drysdale for recommending me to this forum. In addition, I'd like to extend my thanks to another Australian. This morning I heard he's from Canberra too. It's Eddie Jones, head coach of Japan Rugby, on behalf of all Japanese rugby fans for his contribution to their victories at the Rugby World Cup. Today I'll be talking about changes in the pattern of Japan development and role of localities. I'm the governor of Nara Prefecture. Nara was the first capital of the nation from its founding to 794, where the emperor system was born, where Buddhist culture was first adopted, and a center of vital international activity. Therefore, in today's lecture, I may often touch upon historical background. It goes without saying that in recent years, there has been 4 significant challenges for Japanese local government. There are namely population decrease, all right. Next issue, aging, and low birth rate, and job creation. These 4 major issues are attacking local government politics. In this lecture, I'd like to talk about how Japan conventional problem solving method of central government initiative cannot sufficiently deal with these issues, and discuss the ways the expected role of local government have changed in response to them. This page only shows the outline of my talk today. Okay. As a first topic, I'd like to talk about the devolution of political power to local area and authorities were very common throughout the majority of Japan history. There are only 2 periods in Japan history with established central political authority. The first of these is the Nara period from the 7th, 8th century, and the second is the Meiji period in the 19th, 20th century. These 2 time periods were also the only ones when the country was ruled directly by the emperor. Aside from this, the emperor was directly involved in politics in the 2 years from 1334. We call it Kenmu no Chuko. In addition, central political authorities was established when international tension around Japan were running high. In the Nara period, Sui and Pan-China, along with Shira on the Korean Peninsula, had dangerous political power, whereas in the Meiji period, the threat was that of the European power, Russia and China. Japanese major troops were only ever sent abroad when the country was ruled by the centralized political authority. This occurred first in 663, the Nara period, with the Battle of Began River west of Korea, and then in 1931 with the Manchurian incident, Sino-Japanese War, and the Pacific War. Toyotomi Hideyoshi also dispatched troops to the Korean Peninsula in 1592 and 1597, but this was only because of his temporary grip on central power or political power, central political power. In his wake, the Tokugawa regime reverted to domestic-focused politics. All these three military activities abroad came up with a miserable result finally. Next, I would like to talk about how Japan's acceptance of foreign civilization was the base of country's development. Okay. The way in which we did this can be characterized in terms of central authority initiative and adoption by layers. Foreign culture was something Japan adopted and wore like new pieces of clothing in response to the country's aims at the time, and so was lacking or inconsistency. From time to time, it would even appear strange. Yeah. However, through constantly wearing this foreign culture costume overcoat, there are times when it became a part of Japan itself and partly skin and blood of Japanese. Just like when we suddenly realize that the item of clothing you have been wearing for many years actually doesn't suit you. Okay. The question is sometimes asked, what is your appealing fashion style of costume? We feel most relaxed at home after putting off all official clothes. That's true. Amidst such history, Japan repeatedly switched between open and closed door diplomacy. Although there were times when it was forced to do so, Japan actively looked to adopt the foreign civilization it encountered whenever they might prove useful. The occasions when global political forces appeared around Japan were during the Nara period, the time of Genko Mongolian attacks in 1274 and 1281, the medieval warring state period, and the Meiji period too. Japan's aims, however, were different when it encountered global power. In the Nara period, from the 6th to 8th century, its aims were the adoption of Buddhism and establishment of Chinese-style state based on law and order. In the warring state period, it aims to import the new technology of guns and reject Christianity. And after this, Japan closed its doors to the world. From the Meiji period, which began in the late 19th century, its aim was the import of industrial technology based on science and the establishment of the constitutional monarchy. I'd now like to discuss several ways in which Japan adopted foreign civilization. The first method of cultural adoption is controlled by central political authority. Here, the central powers are in the in-front position, controlling the dispersal of culture, and local people are in the role. Secondly, there is a way in which foreign culture is accepted like a new layer of clothes. Even as it is adopted, traditional culture is retained underneath. As a result of this, foreign culture develops in urban areas, whilst the traditional mentality and the way of life remains in rural areas. Consequently, cultural difference between urban cities and rural areas still exists in Japan today. My next point relates to Japan's acceptance of foreign culture following the establishment of the Meiji government and the way the country developed. In adopting foreign culture in the Meiji era, the government mentality was usually one of city first, state first, local later. But with regard to the role of local government, it was faced with a decision to make. While the acceptance of industrial technologies based on science was one object of modernization in Meiji era, there was also another objective, the modernization of the political system. The modernization of the political system at the time aimed for the establishment of constitutional monarchy and the rationalization of local administration system. Ultimately, the fact that Japan's political system developed as one where centralized leadership was key would have an impact on the way the nation would develop in the following years. In the Meiji period, there were people who developed a style of politics for the country that was not focused on centralized leadership. One such person was Alberto Mosse, a German advisor to the Japanese government. He advocated a decentralized nation both to achieve stability and in order to rationalize Japan's local administrative system. Mosse stressed that in a centralized system, a failure in the central Japan government could wreck the nation. Decentralization and local autonomy can disperse risks and stabilize the country's politics. By conducting local administrative work, people develop a sense of responsibility for their local politics. Another person who stressed the need for the devolution of power to local authorities was the founder of the Japanese army, Aritomo Yamagata. Aritomo argued that local autonomy was the foundation of the nation. He believed that under the constitutional monarchical system with the National Assembly, the country's political may be influenced by the people's right activists. As you can see here, Aritomo wrote that people who have experimental local administrative work develop experience in politics if elected to the National Assembly, unlike democratic activists who always complain and try to disrupt the society. They would continue to the efficient operation of the parliament. In other words, he believed that the development of local autonomy would contribute to the stability of constitutional government in the nation. However, the views of both Aritomo and Mosse were in the minority. Facing the possibility of wars against both China and Russia, the Meiji government opted for a centralized nation system. Prior to the establishment of Meiji government system, a system of local autonomy known as village autonomy existed. Under this system, land tax was paid as a whole village. Then the village head allocated the duty tax to villagers as his will. Villagers cooperated to store crops for time to famine. From the Meiji period onward, however, land tax was paid by individual landowner. Then the role of village head as a community leader disappeared. Villagers' welfare became the government's direct responsibility. As a result of these changes, village autonomy collapsed, it is said. Municipal integration was a method employed to make local administration more efficient over the course of 3 main periods of merger and integration. The 71,000 municipalities that existed in Japan at the start of Meiji era have been reduced to 1,700. On the other hand, the prefectural system was established in 1890, and from then until the present day, there have been 47 prefectures in Japan, the same number. With regard to reforming the system in these days, an argument in these days today, an argument is sometimes made about merging prefectures together into larger state, like Doshuse, but this is yet to become a significant political movement. So far, I have given a very simple introduction to the way Japan developed and the history of the role of local administrations. The issue for Japan at present, however, is whether its usual model of development and local administration will allow it to respond to the recent critical issues of population decrease, an aging population, low birth rate, and job creation in local area. Therefore, these four issues are nationwide interrelated problem. Solutions to them cannot be found in other parts of the world and depend on local government taking the initiative and collaborating with the central government. Japan is now most advanced country of problem, not the solution. They cannot be dealt with by the conventional central initiative solution seeking approach, but require strong leadership from local government. We need another style of approach. Now I'd like to discuss briefly the nature of these four issues that modern Japan is faced with. First, let's look at the issue of population decrease. An estimate says Japan's population will go through 3 phases of decrease and will have halved by 2090. In phase 1, shown here in white, the senior population increase, whilst the child and working population decreases. In phase 2, in the center, the senior population level off and slightly decreases, and the child and working population continues to decrease. Finally, in the lightest column, in phase 3, the senior population decreases, whilst the child and working population decreases even further. Okay. Next slide. Population decreases. Okay, has started in every area of Japan except large cities. As we shall see in the next slide, however, the pace of population decrease differs between areas depending upon page 17, depending upon geographical area. Therefore, the pace of population in decrease in Japan is different. The graph on the left shows the projected changes in the population of the Tokyo area, and the graph to the left shows the population in core cities. Here, the left and right graph shows the projected changes in population of local cities and municipalities in local area, respectively. Okay, next I'd like to talk about the rapid progression of aging in Japan. This graph shows the shift in the population of over 65s in the population of a number of different countries from 1950 to 2060. First, we have the world lines. Then in ascending order, we have America, Australia, okay, the population of which is expected to be 24.1% over 65s in 2060. Next, Sweden, Britain, France, Germany, and Korea. Then finally, we have Japan. As you can clearly see the ratio of the population who are 65 or older in Japan is expected to remain higher than in other countries. This slide shows the rate of increase in over 70 75 years in the population from 2010 to 2040. This slide shows the rate of increase in over 75 in the population from 2010 to 2040. The progression of population aging will center on the so-called three large cities of Tokyo, Osaka, Nagoya, and the surrounding areas. The second graph, the first graph, upper graph, shows the average lifespan. Now, for females, it is 86.6 years. For male, it is 80.2 years. Average, I have 10 years remaining in my case. The second graph here, the lower part, shows the average number of years on 65 in Japan can expect to live without the need for care. Something we refer to in Japan as healthy lifespan. We admit this is an important target figure for the localities. Health lifespan and remaining lifespan, the length of the time between health lifespan and the remaining lifespan is a period during which care is required. We need necessary care between lifetime and healthy lifetime. The biggest issue with the aging population is the problem of finance. Japan's 2014 budget for for social security expenses was 115.2 trillion yen, a whole 2.4 times higher than in 1919. The three financial sources for social security expenditure in Japan are going to be tax, insurance, premium income, and self-support, three resources of finance. Pensions are going to be supported by half by tax and half by labor's income under 60. With regards to medical service, all citizens are enrolled in insurance in a system of universal coverage. With the progression of the aging society, the burden of insurance premiums on the people becomes significant, and welfare service, third category, are paid for almost entirely by taxes. As expenditure continues to increase as aging society goes, the Japanese national budget and the budget of local public bodies has in total surpassed 1,000 trillion yen now. Now let's have a look at the current situation regarding low birth rate problem. This graph shows the changes in total fertility rate in the different countries. Compared with other countries, Japan's birth rate is one of the lowest along with Germany, Southern European countries, and Asian needs. The graph shows again the change in Japan total fertility rate in 2015. The total fertility rate in Nara Prefecture was the third worst in the whole country. The main cause of low birth rate are fewer later marriages and children being born later. This graph shows the change in the ratio of unmarried people in the population in both Nara Prefecture and whole Japan. Page 25. Okay, thank you. Left graph is that of age 25 to 29. Right graph is that of age 30 to 34. the unmarried ratio progress so rapidly in these 20 years. Okay, next slide, please. Thank you. This graph shows the changes in average age of first marriage in both Nara and Japan. In both cases, the average age have been rising sharply in recent years. 30 years ago, women went married around 26 years. Now, they first go to marry around 30. This graph shows the average age of mothers at the time of birth of their first, second, and third children. As you can see, it is clear that the current trend is one of giving birth later. About 20 years ago, the first baby was born at the mother's age 27.5 years. Now it is about 30.3 years. Okay. I now like to talk about how the issues of low birth rate and unemployment insecurity for young people are interconnected. Then this graph, in this graph, the upper line shows the job opportunity differences between Tokyo and other areas. The lower line shows the marginal increase of Tokyo's population. Then this graph shows that the more job opportunity there are in Tokyo compared to the rest of the country, the higher the number of people moving to the area. In other words, the better the economy, the more young people head to Tokyo for work. If the economy is in a slum, it becomes difficult for people to move to the capital. Another result of young people converting on Tokyo is that capital has the lowest birth rate in the country. Birth rate are higher in Okinawa, leftist pole, but young people do not see it as a favorable place to work. Tokyo pole is the lightest. Birth rate in Nara are the third lowest in the whole of Japan, and the key reason for this is that there are not many places for young people to work at Nara. Until now, Japan, so far I briefly looked at the current situation of a serious problems we are facing. Until now, Japan has successfully retained both its external independence and competitiveness and its traditional cultural identity by combining traditional culture and foreign culture through the adoption by layers approach, I may say. However, Japan is today faced with a problem that are yet to occur anywhere else in the world. And so there is no model solution that it can follow, as it is the only developed country currently in this situation. Japan's conventional approach to problem solving of developing the country by adopting foreign culture is inappropriate in this case. In other words, decisive change is necessary in order to change the traditional Japanese method of development. Rather than a trickle-down style, local initiatives and partnership are required, I think. Put simply, Japan needs to move away from central government initiative model of development toward partnership focus model. Left side sketch shows a conventional model structure with a central government or a big export industry at the top. Right side sketch shows the flat partnership-oriented development model. In this model, partnership can go beyond the national territory, I hope. Okay, now I would like to introduce the initiative we have been planning and carrying out in Nara Prefecture in order to resolve the problem we face at present. Firstly, we work with a network of other prefectures in carrying out projects with a common theme. Secondly, we seek out solutions by collaborating with local government in East Asia. In concrete terms, we host international conferences such as the East Asia Local and Regional Government Congress and hold intensive seminars such as the East Asia Summer School, which looks to foster human resources for the future of East Asia. We contribute to these activities and because we accepted the foreign civilization at the Nara period without smallest cost, then we have to pay for that with great thanks to mainland China and the Korean Peninsula. We would be delighted if Australia could participate in either of these activities as Asian Pacific nations. Finally, we work together with municipalities in the search for solution, something we call the Nara model, new type of approach. I'd now like to explain in a little more detail about the Nara model experiment. These 5 key points make up the background to what we are trying to do. Firstly, Japan has a 3-tiered system of political administration consisting of the country, prefecture, and municipalities. Collaboration between the different levels in the central government is rare because they are vertically split. Secondly, the optimization of local administration has not been achieved by the integration and merging of local authorities. Bigger government is not efficient usual case. Thirdly, before we enacted our program, the problem-solving method led by the central government had reached the limit of their usefulness, and collaboration led and performed by local government and others have become essential. Fourthly, the merit of this, although local governments are in a better position to find solutions to issues as they are closer to the everyday life of the people, there is a risk of them resorting to opportunistic politics and simply distributing local financial incentives, candy and cakes to the voters. Politics, I may say, stimulate the nationalism emotion appeal to the vote, I may say. Finally, we have the challenge of how local governments maintain their integrity. To tackle this issue, Nara Prefecture has begun to release evidence to the public to compare the performance of each municipalities. Municipalities of Nara called publicized evidence is like a test result of the class. They dislike the prefecture's evidence showing. I realize that evidence is a strong political weapon. I call it searchlighting method. In such an environment, we in Nara Prefecture decided to aim for administrative efficiency by collaborating with municipalities. This basic thinking here boils down to the 3 points. Firstly, prefecture and municipalities are public entities which stand on equal footing. Secondly, upon approval by their assemblies, prefectures and municipalities may freely enter into an agreement partnership with other public entities, including the national government. Thirdly, prefectures and municipalities may utilize the whole of their administrative resources, including employees, budget, land, and facilities, to meet local needs. We believe, therefore, that local autonomy in Nara should be operated by partnership and collaboration between the prefecture and municipality. In addition, we believe the model most important role of the prefecture is to assist municipalities. If we put this in terms of soccer, we think the prefecture needs to operate like a good defensive midfielder. If we follow the style of former Japan manager Iboka Oshim, it needs to be intelligent in its play and run more than anyone else on the pitch. Intelligent and run more. That's Oshim's doctrine. The Nara model has attracted a lot of attention nationally as a method of solving problem at local level. In addition, since 2014, under the banner of local revitalization, national politics banner, there has been a political movement for the central government to shift its approach from the conventional model of central government leadership to one of local leadership. In response to the Nara Prefecture, Nara Prefecture has set up a head office for local revitalization, which is now operating 5 different fields. In terms of concrete activities taking place under the Nara model, the prefecture is advancing cooperation with the municipality several ways in the field of social security. Example of this includes the appropriate allocation of local medical service and the establishment of comprehensive community care system. That's important. Ensuring the supply system of community medical service. The provision of suitable medical service to promote the health of senior citizens and the creation of the environment conducive to healthy living. The creation of communities friendly to both senior and young people. Ensuring the better work-life balance for women so that they can be active in society, marry and have children earlier and still continue with their jobs. The creation of industrial zones to attract infrastructures and create job opportunity for young people as a means of tackling decreasing population in local areas. In addition, Nara Prefecture is advancing collaboration with municipalities in areas other than social security in the following ways. Inspection by prefecture of bridges and tunnels in Nara, as well as planning and conducting maintenance work for them on behalf of municipalities. In some small municipalities in Nara, there are no civil engineers working at the municipality office. The prefecture and municipalities share between them public facilities they own, such as the water system, sewage, and schools. The prefecture also transfers ownership of or rent facility to prefectures at a low price. The integration and strategic securing development and exchange of human resources to accommodate new administrative demands. Communities need to be renewed in order to accommodate an aging population. The prefecture and the municipality have reached agreement for the prefecture to provide technical and financial support with transferring ownership of assets or lending them out at low prices. To the present days, the prefecture have reached agreement with 8 cities out of 12 and 2 towns out of 18 in Nara. To put it simply, what Japan needs now today is Eddie Jones of local administration. Eddie Jones is from Canberra. I heard it this morning. Our honors. I can imagine what he'd say if he were here. If you try hard, Japan will be able to attain both social security and sound finance. Look at me, Eddie Jones may say. The prefecture and the municipality will form a scrum and drive it forward. Thank you for your attention.
Well, thank you very, very much indeed, Governor Arai, for your extremely interesting address, particularly about regionalism and the developing trends in Japan today. Governor Arai has kindly agreed to respond to questions before we have our morning tea break at 10 o'clock. Would anybody like to lead off with a question? Yeah. Alan, okay.
Thank you, Governor. Alan Gingell from the Crawford School. One of the ways in which countries like Australia have addressed your 4 problems of population decrease and ageing and birth rates and so on is through immigration. You didn't mention that as a possible solution in your speech, and I know that there are particular considerations that affect Japan. But I'd like to know your views on the attitudes of the people of Nara Prefecture to immigration as a partial solution to these problems.
Okay, thank you for asking a question. This is important. I didn't hide that question. That matter. Immigration is a sensitive problem of Japan, like a refugee problem, and it is sure that we lack of labor forces, but the solution is immigration. That's a question of the people. We accepted immigration many years ago at the Nara period. Many immigrants came from the Korean Peninsula when Prefecture was destroyed by the both Tang dynasty and Shira dynasty, and we accepted a very superior immigrant there. But now the society's structure to be able to accept in a various ways immigrant people in a very comfortable fashion, we didn't develop such skills that mentality problem are involved. Where other rather isolated nation, island nation, we are not accustomed to that immigrant forces for many, many years. Then we need to develop another skill for immigration acceptance. We need actually the immigrant labor for healthcare, for nurse, and for care assistant. We need foreign labor, kind and cheap, rational prices labor. And actually today we accept the trainee level labor force. That means we didn't establish the formula for accepting labor force, immigrant-based labor forces, and it's out of order of law. That's a problem. We have to face that problem and decide whether or not in the future we accept immigrants favorably or we reject. It's difficult, but we accept immigrant in a practical way. That's more difficult in my mind. That question of Japan will accept immigrant labor forces or other with other purpose are not yet to be discussed and decided politically. That is my observation. Not answer. That's all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Governor, for your presentation. I'm Cameron Noble from the Japan section at the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. I was also going to ask about immigration. I have another question, but I'd just like to say that in about a decade, Japan will be losing 1 million people a year through population decline. And so with the Prime Minister aiming to have at least 100 million people in the country, I think it would be rather impossible to do that without some serious immigration. My question is around the relationship. You talked a lot about the relationship with the prefectural government and the local governments, but I'd like to ask about the relationship with the national government and the local governments. In the latest Abe cabinet, they had a new position of the Ichioku Soukatsuyaku Hanto, which translates something like the minister in charge of promoting 100 million dynamic, engaged citizens. And then you have, of course, you mentioned Minister Ishiba in charge of local economies and population decline. But I'm just wondering that, like, with obviously at the national level, Prime Minister Abe is putting a lot of emphasis on this local revitalisation and population decline. So how are those policies relating to your government, for example, in Nara, and also at the more local level as well? Thank you.
Perhaps are you pointing out the Mr. Abe's weak structure of his policy? Mr. Abe had a good idea, but so instant to appeal his idea, revitalization of the people. Okay, now at 100,000 population of Japan, how to make a good team? That, as you said, 100,000 people population may exclude immigrant population, immigrant labor forces. We accept Eddie Jones or other good expert for certain areas. We rather reluctant to accept usual labor forces. That's because as I said, we have no skills mentally and physically, socially to accept those immigrants. But now, however, Abe's policy making, the observation and judgment, we have to see the result and next year's election of upper house. This kind of reshuffle cabinet and other policy appeals of Mr. Abe is targeting the victory of the next year's upper house election. I believe, I suppose his ambition is to change the constitution. It's very, very difficult with a seat of upper house, slight majority, and Komeito is reluctant to change the constitution. And the Ishin, as a new third party, tend to be favorable to change the constitution. I'm not sure they are certain or not, but that's a kind of turmoil, game of politics between leading party and opposite party and in between parties, and targeting getting more seat in the upper house senator. That's a kind of game of appealing to the voters. And okay, 100,000 coalition or gathering of the power appeals. How do you see? We have to see is perhaps news polls. Recent politics are more depending on the result of polls of newspaper. I don't see it's a good manner of the politicians to too much depending on the kind of favorability, favors of newspaper readers.
Thank you, Governor. It's John Scott here. Thank you, Governor, for your speech. I'm really heartened about the message of cooperation and collaboration. My question really is about the response of the corporate sector to a paradigm shift, which is about collaboration and co-evolution, as opposed to prefectures competing for the corporate interest, where they, in fact, it's a race to the bottom in terms of what you give away, as it were, from your community. So has this cooperation and co-evolution model resonated at all with the corporate sector in Japan?
Good question. Thank you. Business circle always prefer the larger regional government. They suppose the larger government are efficient for them, and that the problem, as I see it, problems are not corporate problem and global business environment. It's a problem of local community, small community, and family. Family problem. Social security problems depend on the company-based security system, and the family is just feeding the dad to work and get the income for the family. And that's a kind of share of responsibility between ladies, wives, and husband to work, wives to work at home. That's a kind of style of secure the lifestyle at risk, at danger in the global and the changing, aging society. Then cooperation as a business circle only wanted to give them a liberal, freer marketing style, less intervention of the government, because they prefer the larger state. Then this collaboration, kind of partnership type of government, local government, are not so much preferred by the business entities of Metropolitan Tokyo, Metropolitan Osaka, I feel. And like Mr. Hashimoto usually said, we need a larger regional government. But it's a kind of danger for small communities and weak families. And recently, the national government enacted foster this type of partnership, advanced development type to help those activities. That's a signal that traditional center and follow center government in the front seat and local authorities sit in their seat maybe changing. Another different views from the business circle, I think.
Thank you very much, Governor. We've basically run out of time, but there's another question up here. If you can make your question as brief as possible so that
thank you, Governor, for that enriching, historically minded speech. I just wanted to ask you about the point where you're talking about the local government cooperation in the East Asia region, in particular, the East Asia Summer School program. I just wanted to ask you, from your experience, how did you establish and sustain effective communication and the implementation of these programs between the different local governments in East Asia?
So, as I told you, we work seriously to establish a kind of community discussion type of forum in East Asia local authorities. That's interesting. We found the problem very common among East Asian countries, Korea, and some local state, regional state of China. For example, aging problem are very serious and key problem in China, and we share the social security problem are very common and key. But the Nara's initiative to make a discussion forum among East Asia local authorities are helpful to them, but the atmosphere are very favorable for them and to other local region authorities of Japan. And we wish to continue to this initiative. But on the other hand, prefecture Congress are strongly against, part of leaders of the sector of Nara Prefecture's Congress are against that initiative of Arai-san because that will not be helpful to the citizens in Nara Prefecture. It may be helpful to the Asian people. That kind of anti-initiative of Nara Prefecture. That's what I'm facing. But I personally, that effort will help some better environment, political or government workers capacity building.
Thank you very much indeed. There was one last question here. If you can make it brief, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Governor Li Gangsong from Crawford School. And since Nara fare worst in terms of aging and birth rate, I wonder whether Nara Prefecture can adopt more dramatic measures, such as bonuses to early marriage, subsidies to have more children, and this is it may work. But however, this is related to the local public finance problem, and there are two places in your presentation where you mentioned about local public finance. One is about the distribution, local financial incentive. The other one is the change of a transfer of ownership of assets. So I'm wondering whether at the local, from central to local government approach seems to be working maybe, but however, it's really subject to the local public finance. So how, from your point of view, to compare with the average or the national level, but given all this imperative, perhaps how you see the future changes of the balance sheet of the local government. Thank you.
There's an argument the actual supplies of services or actual supplies of monies which are efficient. And usually the government think the direct service are more efficient to the problem of the people of low birth rate and aging problem. Because there's some abusement problem in the case of money distribution. Then it is effective, perhaps instead of lacking of the money in the financial budget, the government may be willing to do so. But the problem of efficiency and result is not ensured. That's the first stage of the problem. And besides the low birth rate examples, we compare the Shiga Prefecture and Nara Prefecture of the same population number. The birth rate is so different. And another different figures are the official employment of younger population are different. The temporary employment ratio in Nara is higher, much higher than Shiga area. The Shiga area case birth rate is much higher than Nara. That may mean that employment stability of young people may help they wish more to marry earlier with a young lady, and perhaps under 3 million yen a year earning of the family cannot establish a good, healthy, sound family economic base. Then we need more wages to the young family. That's another type of solving question instead of direct money spending for the health or sound family construction.
Thank you very much indeed, Governor Arai. Please join me in thanking him for a very stimulating address.